Hello, everyone. Wednesday, 11 a.m. We got some beautiful questions today about knees caving in, about workshop coming up. So, without further ado, let's get started.
Hi, everyone. So, the first question is a very practical one. We got a message from someone who was mentioning that they are struggling with their knees caving in when squatting. And
Mhm,
I would like to hear what is your take on that whole topic.
mhm. The position of a knee caving in is nothing else than the big thigh bone displacing because and that's the big thigh bone, and there's a lot of ligaments and tendons and cartilage and all of that stuff in between, and that's what's called the knee. So when I think about the knee caving in, I think about the big thigh bone that's from your hips towards your foot, the big one, is being displaced. So when I think about knees caving in, position wise, I think about the hip first. And when I say hip, I mean the neutral pelvis. We've talked about this a lot before already, but it's worth saying it again. A very simple test. If you stand tall, if you squeeze your booty, then you have a neutral pelvis. If you have a neutral pelvis, that means, and your butt is engaged, your booty is engaged, that means you cannot let your big thigh bone come in. You can try this right now. Stand tall, feet straight, knees straight, squeeze the booty, and try to let your knees cave in without displacing your foot. It's not working. So the only challenge for us right now is to keep that booty on and that pelvis neutral once you bend your knee or you shooting your hips somewhere. So that's the actual challenge of training. So this is not about fixing anything in the knee, let alone fixing anything in the foot or in the ankles. This is about stabilizing and getting to a neutral pelvis first. So that's the technical side of it. The practical side of it is super simple. We have a couple of angles how to tackle it. So in our whole hip healer templates, we focus on one thing and one thing only: is we start practicing a squat with the knees over the ankles. This is not to say that the knee should never go over your ankle. This is just setting of priorities. So we'll start squatting, quote unquote, bringing our hips back, learning how to engage our hamstrings and glutes on the way down with a box squat, right? Because whenever you shoot your knees forward, that means less tension in the hamstring, less tension in the glutes, which will lead to your pelvis tilting somewhere, which will lead to the knees caving in, right? So we want to start at the beginning of an issue and not fix something at the end of it, which is the knees caving in. There's nothing to knee when the knees are caving in. You don't have to practice pushing your knees out. You don't have to practice anything for your knee. It's all about the hips and the pelvis. So, for example, the sandbag box squat. Um, Next step could be sandbag front squats or sandbag squats. In a sandbag squat, your knees are shooting forward. Yes, that's absolutely true. That's natural once your hip goes below 90 degrees, and that's fine. The only thing that matters is, did you learn to engage your hamstring and your glutes, keep your pelvis neutral or not? Okay, that's the position times tension side. I don't have a problem with the knees caving in on the first rep. The only thing I care about is how does your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, tenth rep look like? Is the knee caving in getting less or is it getting more? That's all I care about. Typically, when you squat with a weight and with a barbell, the knees start caving in like slightly on the first couple of reps. And the longer you go, the less tension that is there, the less learned tension is there, the more your knees start caving in. The opposite is true for the sandbag squat. So when you start sandbag sandbag, and on the first rep, like it looks horrible, like from a visual perspective. The knees cave in, almost touching each other. It looks like they're literally crumbling and being pummeled by the weight. But surprise, surprise, it starts to get less over time. That means on the fifth rep, it looks already better. On the sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th rep, it starts to look even better. So the knees start caving in less, which is what we're shooting for. The short summary why this is happening is because the sandbag close to your center of mass, favoring inside tension, favoring engaging the muscles we already talked about today to keep the pelvis neutral. Starting to engage more and more, the more reps you do, right? Of course, there's a tipping point when you get like super tired and like you running out of gas. That's totally fine. That's my take on knees caving in. Short summary: there's nothing to fix in the knee or below the knee, ankles or foot. There's everything to work on and to learn in terms of position, neutral pelvis, and in terms of tension for your pelvis, which is starts with the glute max and goes obviously all the way down to the hamstring.
Okay. And if someone wants to incorporate machines along the way, where would you place them? How would you go about that?
Machines are a great tool to get rid of all the, let's say, wobbly things, whether that's a sandbag or whether that's a kettlebell or dumbbells. Machines are start with them or adding them for like newbies or new people because it's very controlled. You can focus on a couple of or maybe on one muscle only. I'm thinking about the hamstring curls, for example, where you can focus on keeping the pelvis neutral while engaging the hamstring up and down. This is great. You can move into like a hex squat machine, but the the bigger the movement looks, like in a hex squat or even in a leg press, the harder it is for most people to actually keep the position in
Mhm.
machine that has an isolated muscle name, like the whatever leg extensions or the quad extensions, or whether it's the hamstring curls, the easier it is to do. And the less isolated muscle is in the name, like a leg press or a hack squat, the more complicated it is to do for normal people.